Hello, I'm Jack.
And I'm Martin.
And we are the Washboard Resonators. Welcome to our podcast, The Washboard Resonators Present. Conversations from behind the red curtain on vintage music and stories from the entertainment industry.
Okay then, well, for Jack, this week's podcast is very, 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 very special and important. So Jack, tell us why.
It's a big intro there. Yeah, so today we've got Peter James, who was my first drum teacher, and he's probably the inspiration for this podcast, really, and also probably the biggest inspiration for doing what I do today, really. I don't know, I could probably go so far as to say he's like a second father to me, really. And
whoa, I've never heard you say that about him.
And I think he's he's a great drummer, but also he's just a great person, which is probably more important, really. You'd never hear anything bad ever said about him. So
he is a great person,
definitely worthy of a podcast.
Well, he's had a really interesting life. He's made his life in music. He's played with the biggest and the best.
We're going to get into it.
I know, but I want to tell the people what to expect so they're excited to keep listening, because there's stuff about him being in the studio the first time the Beatles were in the studio, and there's all kinds of tales. Tom Jones wanted to join his band. There's just, the guy has lived it. Bonnie Tyler, he's a Welsh hero.
So Pete, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for doing this today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You might not know this, but you were like the main inspiration for us starting this podcast, really, because we meet, several people like you who have these amazing stories that aren't recorded, and we want to make sure they're available for the rest of time for other people to hear about.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Can we go back to the beginning? Do you mind saying where you're from and where you were born, if you don't mind?
Well, I was born in Carmarthen. I was born in a house, actually, on the main street, 1944.
Carmarthen in South Wales, for listeners abroad. So, what was your family background? Do you have brothers and sisters, and what do your parents do?
Well, my father was an engine driver, steam engine driver, My mother, farm lady, from West Wallace area, in the country. So we are very much countrified, well-speaking, all the family. I was the oddball of the whole lot, though, to be honest, with this music thing that I got into. Because my mum used to say to me always that when I was about 4 or 5, I go mental in the house, dancing around to the jungle drums or something on the radio, And I was going with my hands, not mimicking drums, but I didn't know what was going on. I was just doing things like that, And they couldn't figure out, whereas they could hear the same music I could do, they weren't even moved by it, yeah?
Was that sing, 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 I'm guessing, if you're talking jungle drums?
Yeah. It was those days, like the 40s, coming into the 50s, as I was growing up as a kid. And loads of drummers went through this, I think, They heard these things. I don't know how many you've interviewed, but I've met loads of guys around my age say the same story. Well, I could hear things on the radio, see? We never had TV, so we never saw anybody.
No.
Just heard it.
Well,
and you're unlucky sometimes to hear the tune that you liked. You might only hear it twice in one day.
Yeah.
You have these chart things going all the time, or you can just call it up and learn it. We never had these colleges or schools trying to give you this chance that you've got today. Things have changed for the better, I think, But the other way round, I think, was when I took, say, 3 or 4 years to discover what a paradiddle was, which you could learn today in seconds. I've probably heard a lot of the things in between. And you're playing wrong sometimes, because I was for a long, long time playing my left-hand lead, and I'm right-handed. And I was corrected by other drummers on the road when I left Carmarthen, looking at me playing and saying, "Are you left-handed or right-handed?" Right-handed.
My first lesson with you, I remember I came in playing open-handed as well, like left hand on the hi-hat, but was right-handed. And I remember you switching me around. So yeah, it's it all goes round, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
So when did you start playing drums? So you're obviously into music from a young age, but when did that actually happen?
I would say it'll be about 53, 54, something like that. And I was very lucky. I've met a lot of people still around today who remember me as a little kid playing at dances that they used to go to. And the dances in those days, they used to call them a ball, like it's a big event, either 9 till 1 or 9 till 2 in the morning, or finished by midnight, depending. And there was, big occasions like the police, the hospital, the hunt, and all this kind of thing. And there were big occasions, people dressing up and all that. And we as a band just dress up, and I hated it. I used to have a dickie bow on, who looked like a bat attacking me,
So Carmarthen or Swansea or something, was it? And
Carmarthen. She was in Carmarthen.
And these were professional engagements, were they?
Well, I don't know if you call them. No, they were professional, because the guy in the piano was a Coleman. I remember him, and he was very, very good. Today you wouldn't have to have worked so hard as a Coleman. His talent had been recognised, and he'd been in a band. But it's just those kind of things, your father drove an ambulance, but he could play the trumpet, so he's in the band on the weekend, like everything. And I got discovered for that particular band because the leader was a local barber, and my father took me to the barbers and stacked up in the corners a pile of drums, double bass leaning against the wall, and an accordion on the floor. And I kept looking, I guess, and he kept pulling my head because he's trying to cut my hair. And he said, "Well, keep this boy's head still." He said, "I'd cut his bloody ear off," he said, He said, what are you looking at, boy? I said, "Well, the drums." He said, "Do you play drums then?" I said, I don't know. I've never tried on a drum kit. I said, I'd like to. So he said to my father, is he serious? He said, "Yeah. When I finished today at 7 o'clock, bring him down," he said. So he brought me down. He played saxophone and bass. I can't remember if he was any good, really. But to me, it was like being in heaven, just to get down and have a go on the drums, what I mean?
Yeah.
So he put the bass drum up. I didn't know what.
Remember what kit it was? Was it the big kit or?
No, it was like it was a big bass drum. I was 24, something like that. Like that's what kind of things around. I put that bass drum up, and the snare drum he put on top of the bass drum. So there's no head underneath. It's broken. All the wires are there. All right. I didn't know those things, technically then. And I just play in one little cymbal like that, no hi-hats, nothing. And he was going playing like a military guy, I said, "Oh, the boy's got rhythm." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah. He come and play the dance on Saturday. We're looking for a drummer on Saturday." Now, I'm like that. They're all grown up. And I ended up getting something like, I think it was something like 10 shillings, which is a lot of money. My father, they give me 10 bob, for that. That's 50 pence.
I know. I know it doesn't all translate, but I didn't know that story actually. That's amazing. They should have called you Traps, the Welsh drum wonder. You weren't reading now, obviously, so this was just playing by ear. And was this did this become a regular gig?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So that would have been pretty valuable.
I still didn't have a drum kit.
No,
but there was more drums apparently. That was there. The other part of the drums is somebody's car. Somebody else had something in a van. It was those days helping each other out with getting around, like.
Yeah.
And when I got to the one particular place on this hill I played, and there's a guy now, Don Thomas he's Dr. Don Thomas. He remembers me coming there because he was fascinated. There's a bass drum. He said he always remembers it. I wish it was cameras in those days. He said, "You see this head over the bass drum and a dicky bow and all the noise coming," he said. As he called it, the noise. I said, "Oh, thanks." I was doing my best. And there he was. And he was dancing around to quick steps. And in those days, he'd do set pieces, 3 quick steps.
Yeah, but I mean, you must have been pretty good, straight away for that, because the tempos have to be pretty consistent for those kind of dances. So I think that's impressive, really.
Well, I tell you what, it was good grounding because I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I can remember learning, they did what they called safety stuff, was a quick step, samba, rumba, waltz. Now, you can variate on that. You can have an old-time quick step. You can have an old-time waltz, Viennese waltz. They're all different tempos. I didn't know that. And they were like, yes, they're all reading music. I wasn't. I was just there, But they were grateful for somebody just to keep the time.
Yeah.
I was a drum machine, really, wasn't I? But I was loving it, learning. I was coming home, and I had these old 78 records then, and I got Edmundo Ross and people like that. I don't know if you know those names, but they were dance band people, and I'd be buying these records just to learn what was going on with the sounds, So on a Saturday, they were trying something like a cha-cha. And I play it like I could hear ding, dang, ding, ding, dang, 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 ding, ding, dang, dang, dang. But I wouldn't do anything fancy, just keep it straight like that. And he said, "Great boy, he's improving. How do you know that, boy?" And he's had this accent, like, you know. And I said, I bought the record. I said, "That's what I heard in the record." "Oh, good, good, good." He said, "Learning, innit? That's how it was."
Yeah.
I
Okay. I know like a little bit of your backstory, obviously, but I don't want to lead the conversation too much. I just want to hear it from you, really. But how do we get from playing in those dance bands to joining the Blackjacks at 16?
Well, I was in a skiffle band, was something like you got there now, in 1955-6, that was, and the dance band as well. And it's getting to the point, although I was making money in a dance band, I didn't like going on a Saturday night. Just not, the 4 hours playing was usually an hour and a half, 2 hours to get, hour and a half, 2 hours to get back. I was still a kid. I was still in school. You know, you get done for it, eh? Child labour. You know what I mean? But it got to the point, I discovered now Bill Haley and all them people, Elvis, Eddie Cochran, all them, and Lonnie Donegan prior to that with the skiffle. And we had a good skiffle band, and we were experimenting doing the rock and roll as well.
Schoolmates or something in the skiffle band then? Or
yeah, they were called the Wildcats, spelled with a K.
Nice.
Beautiful. That's a great skiffle name.
Yeah, and the guy who came up with the name, Marco Barnett, his name was. He's passed away now, for us, a long time ago. He used to speak in an American accent, and he's born and raised in the same place as me. He loved everything American. There was him. There was Frankie, who was my best mate at the time. He's passed away as well. Jimmy Crawford, guitar. I've actually got a photograph of it. That's in my scrapbook.
I'd love to see that.
A little black and white photograph, and I'm standing up behind his drum kit, which is not mine again, borrowed. I still have a drum kit then. And that was borrowed off a friend of my father's on the railway. He was a fireman with my father, and talking about drums and like that. And he said, "Oh, I got an old drum kit in the shed." He said, "If the boy can do something with it, you can borrow it." So I had that for quite a few years, actually.
You remember what it was? What make
No.
it was?
I had no interest in looking at badges or nothing. And when that came to me, oh, wow, you know, proper drum kit in the shed all day long. Oh, he couldn't stop me.
You have, was it on, did you have T-chest bass and stuff?
That was the T-chest bass all at that time. And that was good because you do all the local dance bands and stuff like that. And this drum kit that I bought in later came into that skiffle band.
Mm.
So we shifted over. The T-chest went, and I remember the bass player, he bought one of the first Fender precision basses around. Wow. You know, it would have been about 1960, 59, 60. I don't know. Wow. I know we had to order it in a shop in Carmarthen. It took about, seemed like 2 years to come to the shop. Today you get it in the post next day. And from that band then, I was come up to about 15. A good friend of mine then, he started singing with the Blackjacks. Now, the history of the Blackjacks was that they started down in Plymouth. They were an English band, and with a Welsh guitarist. And the Welsh guitarist's wife was, you know, from down here.
Okay.
And he's from Cardiff. And they were both officers. He was the chief petty officer in the Royal Navy on the Ark Royal. Don was the leader of the band. So he was a guy now that, a lot of credibility about him. He was a gentleman, you know what I mean? He wasn't rock and roll.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He could play the guitar.
A rock and roll band.
Yeah, he wasn't rock and roll. Most rock and roll guitars, I know it's a joke, they say 3-chord tricks, that's what they know. There's a lot of them are like that, and they made a living out of it, you know? That's fair enough. Don wasn't. He was a jazzer. He'd be up and you know, all this Stephen Capelli stuff and all that, you know. But his wife kept telling him, "That's no good, Don," she said. "The future is pop music. You've got to do it." And he could, you know, say a tune come out on a Monday, we played it Monday night. He was there, you know, and we were banging things out like that. But they came to Wales minus their drummer. They got demobbed out of the services down in Plymouth. They had an English drummer down there from Plymouth, who I don't know who he was, nothing. And he stayed down in Plymouth, but the rest of the boys left Plymouth, came up to Wales, and they were auditioning drummers with a view of going professional. See? And they were looking for a front line vocalist, and they found Pat. Pat actually lived about 100 yards walking distance from the house, and they didn't know each other.
Pat Harris, this is.
I know, and Pat was an awesome singer. Awesome. I wish people knew more about her, because she was very American, although she's Welsh, something American about her voice. She had it. You know when somebody's got something, she had it, like. And of course, you didn't appreciate it at the time when you were young, you're just enjoying the thing of getting in the band. Yeah. But she was gold. She was gold. And that was one thing in the band I noticed later that was coming between us as a band. I didn't know this, what was going on. But when we were up in London, you name me any big name impresario interested in band, right? They were interested in Pat, but not the band with Pat. It's still like that now. It's still like that now. The business is like that. I mean, if you guys know, one of you had a sort of unusual voice, right? And you went along, yeah, you have, there's two unusual voices there. But if you went along now to Simon Cowell, right? And he listened to you, he'd go, yeah, he'd break you up straight away. It'd be £1 million contract for one of you, the rest of you, the other one can go home. That's the business. It's awful like that. It's cutthroat, and although the thing is, we're all worst bad enemies, musicians. Our heart is in the instrument. You start with a dream, you follow in your dream, you play in, you're happy. Then you start counting the money and think, I'm skint, I've got to get there. You've got to look after money. You could get a business head about you to go with it. Yeah. That's when it starts going a little bit, well, you could go anyway.
Yeah. So how did you...
well, in my case, my friend from Carmarthen, Elvin Leroy, they called him. His real name is Elvin Thomas. There's another story there. His sister is Brotherhood of Man. You know Brotherhood of Man? Famous Brotherhood of Man?
Yeah.
The one with the black hair. That's Helen. She's from Carmarthen.
Okay.
That's. I used to babysit Helen. I'm sort of my knee. We'd laugh about it now. She was a kid, like, I've got around the house to Elvin, and I didn't know she was going to be this famous girl, but she had a lovely voice on her. And Elvin said, "I got an audition for you," he said, with a band in view of going professional. And I said, "But I can't, can I? I'm still in school." "Yeah, but come up, see what you think, like, we got up on Thursday, it was a Thursday, and I went up on the back of his motorbike, belting up there.
To where? To Cardiff?
No, up the Cross Arms. Oh. And I went up there, and unknown to me, I found out later, they really tricked me, I got the gig, but they couldn't take me on. I was too young. So what happened was, they threw these songs at me, and I thought, oh, I've heard that, but I never played them. I've heard that, and I was playing along to it on a smashing, or a proper drum kit. It was a Sona, white marine, beautiful kit. And this is 1959. I did that audition. But what it was, unknown to me, the kit belonged to a drummer who lived not far down the road again, who had no intention of going professional. He was a lorry driver, and he was helping out in the band, doing some semi-pro things around here. And you're chucking all these tunes at me, all sorts. And I remember him saying then, "Do you like jazz?" Oh, I said, "Yeah, I love jazz." So he started going, and the other guy, everything was going away like that. And they were looking at each other and thinking, I found out afterwards, they'd interviewed and auditioned about every drummer around here from Swansea, Cardiff. And none of them had the gig. They could all come in and belt out, "Yeah, I know what, yeah." "You swing? What do you mean now?" Like, yeah. Well, they went, "Okay, next," just like that. Like, I didn't know. I found out those later, right, from these drummers. Believe it or not, one of them in the last 2 years, just before lockdown.
Wow.
Yeah, and that happened in 1959. And just 2 years ago, I was doing a gig in Swansea with a band called the Knees, Trembling Knees, they're called, right? They're straight down the middle rock band. And there's 5 other bands on. And his drummer came in, and he went, "Good God, Pete James, how are you?" I said, "Hayden, man, how are you?" "Yeah." And he went to get a room full of musos, all different bands. He goes, "See this guy by here?" "Yeah." "He pinched my job," he said.
I knew you were going to say that.
I know, and I'm standing there. Now. I was going red in it. I said, what do you want about Aidan? I wouldn't do that to anybody, I said. I thought he was talking about something like a gig in the last couple of weeks or something. I said, I wouldn't do that to anybody. I wouldn't take anybody's gig. No, he said, I played with the Blackjacks for about 6 months, he said. I didn't know that. Of course, all the boys turned on him with Swansea humour. Aidan, do you know why you didn't get the gig? Well, because you're crap. Yeah. All jokes, like, you know. And Aidan go, no, fair play.
Am I right in thinking that, so there was an age gap, but you were the youngest member in the band, yeah?
Yeah, well, the guitarist was twice my age.
Right.
Because what happened, from the age of 15 of the actual audition, they were pleased with it. They didn't say much to me, right? Linda was asking me a question about when's your birthday for school or that, like, and my birthday's in November. So it was like summer holidays. So I should have gone back to school. And then in November, I got the right to leave. It's illegal, you've got to stay till 16 apparently, something like that, you know. Anyway, I virtually left, you know, so.
But you wanted to?
Well, I was 15-year-old when I did my very first gig with them at Pennegross Hall. It was heaving. It was 3 times the amount out on the street than it was inside. And I thought, wow, I'd never seen anything like it. But it was rock and roll kicking in. You know, that was 59, 60. That's pretty early Beatles day. The Beatles were doing it as also. They were doing the same as me. The other side of the North Wales, like at that end, you know, Liverpool. They were going through the same things that I was going through.
Yeah.
But they became famous then from 63. They recorded in 62 and 63 on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we didn't know it was on the corner, did we? We weren't doing it for that. You're just doing it because you love it, like.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's credit due to Don there for taking on, you know, even now you think like a 32-year-old guitarist might not be willing to work with a 16-year-old drummer fresh out of school to go professional, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think in those days, to be fair, Jack, I think there's things have changed dramatically. They have. Like that Coleman guy now used to come to my house, right, who played the piano. I always remember he was good. As young as I was, I knew he was good because he's played all these things. He's humping 100-weight bags of coal all week and playing the piano. And I thought he was the best musician on the stage, no doubt about it. And I used to think that wouldn't happen today. That's one thing. But also, they were giving me a chance, right? As long as I wasn't overstepping my mark, and I was keeping time. If I was rubbish, they'd probably say, you know, thank you very much. Like, I need to get somebody else. Like, understand that. They don't do things like that today.
No.
Yeah, I get the impression, speaking to lots of people of lots of older generations, like even my grandma who was in the 90s, talking about her youth in the 30s and saying how much music there was,
yes,
even in the small village near Huddersfield where she grew up. But it was at a very amateur level.
Oh yeah.
So the guy that worked in the local shops, they were in the band, and they were kind of like bad bands.
Yeah.
But there was loads of that kind of. It's like just I guess if there's no TV and very little radio and things, and you can't go to the cinema all the time, you need to do something with your time. You can read, you can join groups, you can learn to dance, you could learn to play an instrument even badly, join in, and then if you get good, there's a kind of system where you end up probably. You know, if you're lucky, you might end up in Victor Sylvester's orchestra or, you know, whatever. Yeah. The American equivalent is, you know. But it sounds very community-based, what you're describing again. It sounds beautiful.
Yeah, well, I think it's good times, you know. But when I went professional and I left school, I went on the road with the Blackjacks. My feet didn't touch the ground. It's totally different. I used to think about, it was like from one world to another. So when I came back to Carmarthen, it was like time stood still.
Did it change the way you viewed Carmarthen and your family and your upbringing once you'd been around the country and seen all these places?
It didn't. No, I knew it was chalk and cheese to the world I was in of music, because it took me away now from the farming community type of thing. So all my uncle stuff out here, which I loved. You know, I've been brought up on that. But you know what? That's never left me. That has never ever left me, because wherever I was in the world, I used to think, what the hell am I doing here? You know, sit in a hotel and not on until 12 o'clock tonight. And what is it? 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, I want to go home. Like, what am I doing?
It's part of the business, though, unfortunately.
It's part of being a professional. And to be honest with you, I found that hard.
Yeah.
In fact, I've tried to get out of it. While I was in the Blackjacks, because Linda, who ran that band, right, she knew and got through every door that was possible in this country. Now, how we never made it, I don't know, other than the fact that they were interested in Pact. And because we were being used as a backing band, we backed so many artists, you won't believe. I started writing them down once. I got 150 and I stopped. And then I speak to somebody, I'd say, oh, Pete, yeah. I remember a time up in Coast North, he said, when you were with so-and-so, that's another one, 151, you know? It's like that, seriously. But I know there's other musicians doing the same as me, because it was vibrant around the country then. Everybody had a house band. And if I was playing for, say, Selena Jones for 7 days in Wales, she's off there past up by you in Leeds somewhere for 7 days. So somebody is playing for her up there. Unless these people take you on the road as their backing band, because it's safe then because you're rehearsed and they're taking, you know, they're not going to fall flat. And a lot of them did that. Well, I was lucky there because I landed some good jobs through doing that.
Yeah.
With
let's go back a little bit, Pete. So what was? Can you go through the first few years of the Blackjacks, or give us a bit of a summary of what happened there?
What kind of gigs were you doing in the Blackjacks? So what kind of work was it? What range of work? Well,
whereas now you guys are lucky to work out like on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were working every day of the week. There's something going on all the time. We were involved. I can remember doing my first 1960 or 61. It was. I joined them professional in 60, although 59 was my first gig. But we did make a song and dance about that because I was only 15 and they were testing the water because I couldn't go on the road, see? So come 1960, she'd already had in pipeline flat out work. And she said to me, you got to get yourself a drum kit, you know? And she said to me, you got to get yourself a haircut. And I said, what's that got to do with the drum kit? Listen to me now. Drum kit, you get a haircut, or the other way around, haircut, then a drum kit. Oh, she was regimental. They were ex-service people, right? Now, I took this virtually for 6 years with the Blackjacks, and I could tell you some hair-raising stories, like standing on the stage, where was I? I can't remember where I was. And Don, the guitarist, standing here waiting here. There's other things going on the stage, and right, we're on now in 5 minutes. So we're in the wings, like, and he looks down, he goes, James, you look at your shoes. I said, what? Go and clean your shoes. I said, what? In the theatre, I'm going on now to do a show. And I said, Don, I said, go and clean those shoes now, he said. Right, so I go now. I said, better get on the curtain, cleaning my shoes, go back on. And I get interested on. Don, I said, I'm standing by the drum kit, nobody's going to see those shoes. I said, you know, he said, listen, he said, they won't say, it's just scruffy drum of the shoes. They just say, Blackjacks, oh, scruffy bunch of guys. So you're going to bring us all down, he said. Yeah, they were red. I learned a lot from them, but in the end, it was getting me on my, I just want to rock and roll and play, like, they were killing that little bit of it. And anyway, I digress. The first show we were on the road, right? I'll never forget it because we did a workers' playtime up in Caerphilly. Now, I don't know if you know what those are. The BBC put them out. You go around different places, and I can't remember what it was up in Caerphilly, where there was a ball bearing factory or an aeroplane factory or something. I don't know what it was, or I don't remember. But you arrive at the canteen, they structured out a bit, and all the workers come in for the workers' playtime, as they call it. And it'd be compare, there'd be a comedian, name artist of the day, something like that, you know, and we'd be on there, and we were useful. This was the first time we ever did one with them, and I can't remember who the star was. I know Maureen Evans was on it. Do you know that name? Anyway, she was on it, and that was it. And I thought, oh, that's good. Oh no, you're not going home now, she said. We're down to Cardiff and we did a TV show. So the radio show and a TV show on the same day.
Wow.
No gig in the night playing dancing. And got to the radio TV show now, and there's a guy called Donald Pierce. Now, Donald Pierce, I know you'll have to check him out afterwards, because every time I mention Donald Pierce to people, they go, never heard of him. That's fair enough. But when you check out who he was, he did the Palladium. He was like, you had Frank Sinatra on the States and all that kind of thing. That's what answered over here, Donald Pierce and people like that. And he had a massive hit with a song called Babbling Brook. Now, he had a connection with the Blackjacks, because one of the boy singers in the band with us lived next door to him, brought up with him. And that's why we were on his show. See? But when I got to the show, brilliant for me, I was a bit shaky about it. They had an in-house BBC always had a band in there, up in Leeds, the Northern Band. They had them everywhere. And they were on the payroll. And when I got to and the one in Cardiff, I think I used to go across the channel into BBC Bristol, and there was no Severn Bridge then. It's the ferry.
Go around, or the ferry.
I either go around, and the ferry just stopped, a bit of the fog was low, to stop all that. So I got to the studio, we did a silent run on our stuff, like what do you, I think we were 2 numbers or 3, I can't remember. And session boys are coming in now, and I could see a bit of muttering going on, right? Next week, Linda called me up to the dressing room with Donald Pierce. And he was sitting in front of the mirror doing all that, see? And he said, now then, Peter, he said, how do you feel about playing for me tonight? And as a kid, like I looked at him and said, what do you mean? With our band, our drummer can't make it here, he said, he's stuck at so-and-so. So would you be willing, because everyone's got live, you see?
Wow.
And I said, I won't know what to do. Now, what we'll do, he said, your drums are on the riser on wheels, and we'll pull you over right by the piano. And Benny is our musical director. He said, and he'll talk you through. He'll be all right, he said. I'm sure you'll do well. Now, Linda already primed him that I'm very versatile at playing different things, but he might not know what's going on, but he's got a very good ear and he won't let you down, see? So I didn't have that confidence, but she was pushy. So really, cut a long story short, they pulled me over. Benny was great. He was the MD for the BBC. Like, I said, you'll be all right. He said, just one. I said, how does the first thing go? He said, don't worry. He said, once I start playing, you just join in. He said, brush your teeth on the first one. I said, okay. I thought, this is a band call. Like, right, the bloke counting the clock down, going, push, I had to go like that, see? Ding, 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 like that. And that was it. I was in the BBC band. I laughed. I was crapping myself. And I came off, and I had a fee for it. I had a fee for the Blackjacks and a fee of thing. But you know what? Benny was so complimentary to me, and he said, fantastic, he said, young lad like you, so love to see you again. Fantastic, you have a bright future, he said. His mum said he walked away. Small world, I ended up playing with Benny Litchfield. 10 years later, I met him, and he said, was that you? He said, yeah. Never forget the day, he said. Never forget the day. You came in, he said, you look like a little dipper, he said. You've grown up now, haven't you? And you know, Lawrence Cottle, I was down in Tembe doing a show with another guy, Welsh Prince of Laughter, they call him, and the Lawrence Cottle band was on there, and I was on drums with them, see? And Benny Litchfield was the musical director, because this guy was attached to the BBC, and he was filming some of it. And from that, he said, what are you doing these days then? I said, I'm absolutely freelance now. I said, that band I finished with, 66. I said, I finished with them, I've been on the road, freelance, he said. Give me a bell in the morning, I've got some work for you. And he gave me loads of work. He was brilliant. Never forgotten. Never forgotten.
So yeah, you literally are like, yeah, hit the ground running here, really. And you're working every day of the week. And are you on good money now?
Yes, very good money from the word go, because Linda was like, she ran it. There was always a massive kitty into the band fund. I didn't know about that. Massive kitty into the band fund, right? Because I didn't know about, but it's always wages for me at the end of the week.
End of the week.
Yeah, and in an envelope.
And was it always an even split?
All us musicians on the same money. What they were getting, I don't know. But I've always been of this philosophy. Some people say, you should all have the same. I say, whoa, no, wait a minute now. If it's got Woolworths on the front, you can't walk in and say, the man just getting 100 grand a year. I want 100 grand. Really, yeah. You can't do that, can you? So why should you do it in the music industry? If we form a band by year now and we're equal, status and equal input, yes. But if you hire me tomorrow to do a gig and you normally say get £100 each and you hire me for £75, right? I don't complain because I find out that I'm £25 short to you guys because you hired me, because I'm not going to be part of your band anymore, and I've accepted.
Yeah,
if I come in and I say, can you put me on equal terms? You know what I mean? I think that's the way it should be. I don't say 4 guys cut up together, one getting £1,000 a week, the others getting £250. No. If they come up together and lived it all, the whole thing together.
Yeah.
It's a different ball game, as you say. But when you're freelance, you should never complain about the money if you said yes to a gig.
No, yeah, I agree.
It's too late afterwards. But what you could do, if you know you're working for a rip-off merchant, say, lesson learned. Next time, he rings me, I give him a higher fee if he books me, and quid's in. If he doesn't, I haven't lost nothing. I'm not working him again.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
You've got to have some sort of guideline in your own life. It's up to you how you do it, I was lucky because the first 6 years, I didn't have to worry about it because the Blackjacks were doing everything.
Yeah.
But Donald Pierce was the very first guy I ever played for. And I wish I could find it. I know the bloke's got it because we went back in a year later. He had a show called Donald Pierce Presents. And we were on that again. And this time, there was no house band there. And Tom Jones was on it.
Right.
Unknown Tom Jones. 1962, I think it was, or 61 or 2, before he was discovered.
Yeah. And the name Tom Jones.
Yeah, he was Tommy Woodward then.
Yeah, so I think it's...
And he was Tommy Scott and the Senators, actually. That's the name of the band. And some of the Senators had come down to the studio that day with him. And they were a bit gutted that he couldn't come on. And like he said, we've already got a group on there, which is the Blackjacks, Pat Harris and the Blackjacks. So we don't have 2 groups, but you can come on as a single artist. He was quite good, quite nice guy. And
did you back Tom Jones at that time?
No. He sung to some sort of backing track, and it'd be a tape or something in those days, isn't it?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What other, if we keep going with the Blackjacks, we got any other memorable gigs or experiences?
Well, from that we did. She used to do a safe thing. 62, she did a 12-week summer season open of Butlins in Minehead. It's the first year it opened.
Oh wow, the first year.
Yes, yeah.
At Butlins, the holiday camp.
Yes, in Minehead, yeah.
Yeah, so they'd have like big stages for all the families on holiday to come and see acts at night. Actually,
it's quite enjoyable.
Big circuit.
Yeah. We ended up being Sir Billy, right, as they called him, right? He was, yes, sir, 3 bags full. If he was coming to the camp, right, the painters would be out taking the curbstones. It wouldn't be litter anywhere, wouldn't be weed anywhere. Sir Billy's come in, right? And Sir Billy and Linda run our band. Hit it off brilliant. We used to call us over to have supper around this table. Come on, this hall that seats like 2,000 people for dinner, right? There'd be one table, all the thing there for Sir Billy, and us sit on the table and we say, how are they with him? As if he was some sort of god, like. But he was a lovely bloke because he came from a fairground sort of circusy background, and he came up with this idea of a holiday camp, and he just for the workers who'd worked hard all through the year, and you give them a week or a fortnight that they'll never forget with their family. That was his philosophy, and he believed in it, and he delivered it. He did deliver it. It was very thing for those days, you know what I mean? And of course, he took a shine to Linda and our band, and I think what our band was, we were sort of commercial, very commercial.
But you were but sometimes commercial has like negative connotations. But if you're
it does with other bands.
If you're very good with
other bands, yeah. I tell you what, Jack, I can remember all the Swansea boys saying to me when I was coming home, "Oh, what you doing this lot, myself? They're playing shadows numbers, they're playing this, they're playing that." And you know what? I've played with loads of the Swansea boys since, and they're playing those stuff now.
Yeah.
See, but pride, you see, they think it's rubbish. And there's one good guitarist down here, Taff. He's with Bonnie Tyler, Taff Williams. Yes, he's a lovely guy. Always to stand in the front He's an up-and-coming guitarist now. He used to watch Don playing. And he said to me, the thing with Don was, he wasn't a three-chord trick guy. If you come in and said, I just written a song, what's it like? So-and-so, but I got a nasty trick player, and you got a chord, you go, actually, that chord you got there. He was very mod. He wanted to tell you, it's wrong. He didn't like to tell you, but he knew. And he'd play it, and he'd go, what are you doing here? Well, I've changed it to so-and-so. Well, that's better. He wouldn't put you down. He's such a nice guy, you know?
Mm.
But he was one of these guys that could, if you hum it, he'd play it.
Mm.
But he wasn't rock and roll. He just wasn't rock and roll. And these other boys come along then with jeans on, scruffy, turning up, driving the van. You think, well, they're going to change what going on now. They weren't. That was their uniform. Now with Blackjacks, if we did 2 shows, 2 changes of clothes.
Nice.
Do my nut then. You know, it did. I still got them out there.
Really?
The collectibles now. Yeah. No, so we did all good quality work, plus all the gigs everybody else was getting. But most of the bands only on weekends. We weren't weekends because we could do the workers' playtimes in the day. Mm. We were recording over here, traveling there, into everything. And you know the guy, have you heard of Larry Parnes?
Yeah,
yeah.
The tour organizer.
Right. I can remember,
big rock and roll promoter. And
yeah, we went to his office, right? And I thought nothing came of this, but I didn't realize how big he was. When you, on the moment, right, you don't know. So I can remember we were in his office and he was very interested in Pat. Now he's got a habit of changing everybody's name. Mm. Like, if your name is Billy, Fury. You know what I mean? Danny, Storm. So we started having work of him. And we used to open up, like we'd be, say, doing the theatres now. There'd be, what's his name, pirate guy, Johnny Kidd. Johnny Kidd in his band, right? But he couldn't back anybody. So we'd come on in, Pat Harris and the Blackjacks, and then we'd go off, change the suits, and we'd come on now without Pat, and we'd be back in and say Vince Eager or Danny Storm and people like that. We were useful to him.
Yeah.
But I think he really wanted Pat. You see? I often think about we were in every stable, we worked for anybody you name them, yet nothing came of us. Like, is it because we were too commercial, too prim and proper, regimented? I think the whole mix. Mm. I always think Don was never rock and roll because Deke Leonard came with us, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm going on, I'm jumping on a bit now. To 65, we were in Paris and our bass player gone, the original bass player, and we took Deke with us. Now, Deke's written a book, and in his book, he says about how all the boys in Swan just, you're not joining the Blackjacks, shadows and girly singers and right? Deke's admitted to me, he said, it's the first time I've ever had any money. Yeah. When he joined the Blackjacks. You couldn't believe it. First time he'd ever had any money. But I loved Deke. He was more me than the rest of the band. You know, we got on like a house on fire. He was rock and roll and a leftist, right leftist. Oh my God! And I could write the stories about him. We were in Paris and I was getting right pissed off with the band. Now I wanted to leave 65. And I didn't leave for another year. I wanted to leave the band because I was on offers to go with other bands. Mm. I was married, I remember, and I had one child, one boy. And Gwyneth and the boy was out in Paris with me for about 6 weeks. And she went ill. She had to fly home. And after she went home then, I just missed them, like, you know. Mm. And I was with Deke then, drinking. Rock and roll, don't talk. And I remember I was in a bit of a state and Linda threatened me, poking me, you go home, goodbye, you're a wife and kids at home, and you know, you should be thinking. I said, I am. I said, I want to go home. That's the thing. That's what I want. And then they cooled it all down and we're in an officers club in the morning. And there's all this food laid out on these steel platters or that, you know. And I was able to buy a bit of hangover. I was like this. And Linda came in, starts poking. She had this thing, this knuckle, always poked you when she's talking to you. Now listen here now, James. And you go, yeah, here we go again. He comes in, never forget this. He comes in and he said, what would you do? You picking him again? Or like, and he said, no, you stay out there. Like, oh, he said, you picked up this salver of black-eyed peas. You seem like let's say baked beans, but they were black-eyed peas. Massive salver. Right over Don's head. His head, like that. World War III. All the Yanks, beautiful. They loved it. That's what they wanted, like, the rock and roll, like. Because these guys, the Americans were headbangers in those times because they had nothing to lose. They were always talking about because they're going to Vietnam. Most of them are going to Vietnam, you know. That's what it's all about. We went from Paris. We went to a place right out in the wilds, still in France, and they were doing helicopter training, and they were mental. I can remember we were in the van sleeping because we hadn't found no hotel. It's like a village. Somebody put us up in the end, like, and they put these Hueys, they call them. You see them in Vietnam films, right? Skids on the van, I guess, boom, boom, hanging out down the side. Wake up, you're alive. He's shouting at us, waking us up, like, in the van. And I often think, where are those boys now? I got upstairs now, a baseball bat signed by this troop. I got the ball signed by another lot from another camp. I got photographs of a bunch of these GIs with my son Tony when he was, what was he then? 2.5, lifting him up on a tank.
Wow.
And I know they got all this stuff, you know. And I often think, where are those lads now? We were in one camp with the commanding officer walked in his pajamas and a dressing room over the top, and everybody was drunk, like it's about 11 o'clock at night, and they all like swaying. I thought, what's going on? Guy walked down and he said, knock the music off. He came up and he gave orders to drink the bar dry, empty the fridges, eat all the food. He said, you're shipping out in 24 hours. We're all going back to the States, Vietnam. Closed it down. What a party. What a party that was.
It makes me feel sad, all that.
It is, but that was what was going on at the time. And if you're one of the bands that can be around where that happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just beer and madness, like, really.
I got 3 things that I think listeners would be interested in that I remember from stories of you telling us about the Blackjacks. And one of them was 1 year that you couldn't do the Butlins and a very famous band replaced you.
Yeah, that'll be 65. That's the story I just said about Deek in Paris.
Yeah.
Well, we should have been at Butlins.
And what was the band that replaced you then?
Status Quo.
How about that?
Yeah,
Status Quo.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were down in 65 at Butlins. And I heard from the camp manager who loved us. We did 62, 63, 64. Skip 65, that's when Quo came down there. 66, we opened Butlins, Barry Island, and then I left at the end of that. 67, I was back down in Minehead, but not with the Blackjacks. I was freelance, I was playing the orchestra, dance partners with everybody and jobbing all around, like, you know. But the same camp manager was there from all that time. And I asked him, not knowing Quo didn't mean anything to me then, you know, this just started taking off, and I didn't notice them. And I said to him, the band, he said, oh, don't talk. He said, you missed the Blackjack. He said, we had this band came from London. He said, the building was shaking. He said, oh, empty in the room and all that. You see?
Yeah.
Different, where's the luck go? Makes you think, doesn't it? Yeah.
Okay. And so the other thing, you were down in London in the Two Eyes coffee shop, I believe.
Yeah. That was 62, it would have been.
Is that the time when there was a certain drummer playing that became very famous?
Well,
and is that where you met?
Ian Hines, that was.
Yeah.
That's who we signed a contract for to go to Hamburg.
So can you set that scene for us?
Well, yeah, we were playing around gigs around London, and also we'd had already fixed up to meet up with this Ian Hines. I didn't know what was going on, mind. I was just there. I just knew what was happening. Linda was doing the brains, being honest. And we had a lot of time on our hands. And I could imagine London, it was jumping in. You didn't have the Beatles. You didn't have, you name me any of the famous people. They weren't around, but a lot of them around, like we were around. You know, down and out, starving, sharing a hamburger, the last one, you know what I mean? It's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Except for the Blackjacks, we had money. And we went to the Two Eyes to meet Ian Hines, which we did. And there, we went a couple of nights, and Ginger Baker was there with Phil Seaman was there. And up and coming Georgie Fame was there. Graham Bond was there. Everybody was there. Just everybody was there.
Every story about that coffee bar, of just everyone famous hanging out there.
Yeah. And there was a coffee bar like that in Hamburg. Because when we used to come out the Top 10 Club, I can remember the first night arriving there. We arrived in the dark.
Hang on, let's go back, Pete. So Ian Hines was the booker for the Top 10 Club in Hamburg, right?
Yeah.
And then he invited. Did you have to play at the Two Eyes to get the gig in Hamburg? Or?
No, just signing contract.
Oh, you just happened to, right? So you already knew of you. You happened to meet.
You knew about this from hearsay. We were recommended.
So you drove out to Hamburg then. And when was this?
62. We signed a contract, but 63 we were actually in Hamburg.
Right.
I can remember it was a horrific journey getting there because it was a great snow in this country in 63.
Mm.
You can imagine now, no motorway, no Severn Bridge, nothing. It took us about a whole day to get to London. We stayed in London. Then another day to get down to Dover. Then we crossed the Channel. Oh, horrendous getting through France. We went Ostend first, Belgium, France, Holland, Germany.
Were you in an old transit or something, was it?
With a cracking van, with a posh van.
Transit, yeah.
That's one thing different. Another thing with the Blackjacks, everybody had ex-ambulances, ex-GPO vans, right? Blackjacks, a brand new Dormobile, Bedford Dormobile with glass.
Yeah, I know.
Fabulous van. And everybody taking the piss out of us, what they do. Because I remember Don saying, the thing is, he said, if you can't get there, you don't get the wages, do you? No. But more importantly, you've let somebody down.
Mm.
You imagine, he said, your son or daughter all week said, the Blackjacks are playing so-and-so. Well, I'm going along. And they got to travel, say, 10, 20 miles. And you were not there.
Mm.
You don't think about that, do you? He goes, oh, no, I haven't thought about it. Well, think about it, he said. How would you like it done to you?
Okay, so let's go back to the Top 10. So what was your feelings about that?
Well, I remember arriving after the horrendous drive in the snow. And we had the van full of kit. I had my drums in it and everything. And on the side of the Top 10, it was like it's like you're getting Carmarthen. You might have got up with Leeds. You've got these archways with wooden doors, double doors, like in the middle of nowhere. It's from the old days where just a horse and carts used to go up. Okay. That kind of thing. Well, there's one of them like on the side of the Top 10 Club. And around the side, it's like a bomb site. Literally like a bomb site. We remember, it's not too long after the war.
Mm.
Right? And I found out, I had a great interest in the war, and I looked it up. I found out that the Great Fire of Hamburg was one of the most devastating bombing raids in World War II. Flames are so ferocious, vehicles were getting sucked up in the air, cars and lorries.
Wow. Sucked
up in the air, falling back down. Buildings were falling. Top 10 Club was one of the very few standing. Original club. Because I wrote home to my mum and dad. I remember telling them I would on an escalator. They didn't know what I was talking about. I went on it about 10 times. I thought, brilliant, I've never seen one. An escalator, they're everywhere now. But you think about it, they rebuilt Hamburg after the war.
That's cool.
And I can remember we put the van on the back. Ian Hines greeted us. I could hear a band playing. So I walked back up into the club, watched this band, and I thought, get shit out, wow. But what I was listening to was the house band. But Ian had come off the keyboards because he knew we'd arrived. Somebody said, I heard this band playing tight as hell. And I thought, wow, that's a band I want to play with. I thought, this is totally different to the Blackjacks, like. And that was my first thing, but I didn't realize what I was looking at.
No.
It was, and as it happened, he was on stage singing and playing. It was Tony Sheridan, and he wasn't in the band. No, he's flicking in and out, And anyway, Ian took us upstairs into our quarters. And we got a bag settled down on the light of the bed. We were shattered, We've been 3 days on the road, And
so were you supposed to be there for a month? Was that the deal?
1 month there then, yeah.
And how many shows a day?
But I guess the club wouldn't close unless there was if it was 20 or 30 people in there, it stayed open 24 hours a day.
Whoa.
So very rare closed, you know.
You didn't have any hours to work specifically?
Oh, yeah, there was like a rota. There was a house band, there was us. I think Jack Linton and the Teen Beats, he was there, good band. I remember, Dave Berry. You know,
right, yeah, I know all these names. I don't know them.
Dave Berry and the Cruisers, they were there.
Were they all? They weren't all British bands, but they're just all from all over Europe, I guess, was it?
Well, all the bands were English. We were the only
right.
Welsh band at the time. The Welsh bands came out after about 65, 66 on. Because I played with some Welsh musicians back home here, and they said, oh, they done Hamburg. I said, oh, I done Hamburg. I said, when you were there? Oh, 68. Oh, Christ, I said, well, in 62, 3, I said, you know. Oh, early days, that's the best days, they said. They missed it, because things had got off the boil about 65.
Right.
I spoke to your guys, a couple of months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he tracked me down, and I tracked him down. So I went and I wrote him a nice letter, and I put a photo, my son put a photo in. He came back, his memory like a bell. Never forget you guys, he said. You worked for me 3 times, he said. Wow, how's Linda? How's Don?
I did remember the names, yeah.
And I had to tell him they passed away, you see. And he mentioned the girl singer that took over from Pat. Pat came in the first one, and then she left, and we had another girl singer who got involved with Tony Sheridan. And he remembered every detail. And he said, I remember you guys, he said, because your contract was up, and I asked you to go to Hanover, and you did. You played top 10 Hanover for him, see? And I should have been coming home.
Yeah, but I guess it was all amazing. So you're mixing with all these different bands, all these great players. I know you told me that's what you had some lessons from, informal lessons from some good drummers there, right?
Oh, I did. I remember the guy who sorted me out, my right and left hand playing, was a guy called, on his bass drum was Little Roy. Now, I don't know who he is, right? But he spoke, he's a governor, all right, mate. You know, and he's like, yeah, hey, you Welsh wanker, come here.
A Londoner.
Yeah, and he was effing and blinding every word, like, you know. But he was a great drummer. He had these single stroke rolls, amazing, like, you know. And then he used to watch me play it, see? And we all watched each other, like, you know. I mean, if you're on a strip out there, you could see no short of 15 drummers a night if you want. Between the top 10 Star Club, walk on the corner Star Club, just walk back and forth. You've seen everybody, you know what I mean?
Amazing.
And we all checked each other out. And of course, you go out the club then, turn right down the street and turn again right, you're into the Star Club. Turn left out the top 10 club, go up and turn left, and you're into the big area with the Mambo Shanky, they call it. It was a cafe where all the Star Club boys and us, we all meet. And all dealings going on about, hey, do you want to join a band? We're looking for a drummer. Someone says, oh, that guitarist from near him, man, try and get him in the band, like, you know. Because we were all looking for something, you know.
Yeah.
The Blackjacks weren't, because they were organised professional band, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the bottle to leave this safety I had, because I was married. I couldn't wait to get home. I was getting off. I used to go to the Star Club, and I know now, I met drummers after told me that they were taking a mick really out of me, right? Because I was Welsh, banter, they had to put up with that, right? But they were out there for the sex and rock and roll. I wasn't, see? I wanted to learn, right? So when I walked in, and he goes, hey, tough, come here. Like, so I come up, and in the middle of a song, I sit down and play. So I do 20 minutes with this band from Liverpool, start up. I'm not supposed to be there, right? I got 4 hours off, so I'll be playing with these guys. I pass away, play with somebody else. Then I go back into the manor, have some food, and I'm on stage, and with the Blackjacks do my thing, like. I love that. I was playing with these guys, and half the time I didn't know who I was with, and most of them are famous, you know, now.
Yeah,
I didn't know then, but that was my learning. That was my college, like, with it. So that's what I got out of Hamburg. Long hours, hard work, but I had to report up to the police station every day because first year I was quite young, you know. And if I didn't get there, the cops were looking for me. You know, I had it a few times. I'd be shot and I'd be in bed. Next week, Rouse, guy with a gun in his ribs. He'd make me walk up the station, and I find out he speaks fluent English. Thank you for coming up here. But next time, come up here. Don't make me come and fetch you. Oh, thanks, like, you know.
I feel like I feel like I need to pay you a bit of a compliment on it as well. But if I'm right, you were a good drummer by this point, right? You were playing some of the like Shadows hits, See You in My Drums and stuff like that. Were you doing that at this point? That's very good playing. That's not your average rock and roll drummer, you know. So I think you must have been good.
Well, I had a hell of a pair of hands on me for youngster, you know, because I copied by ear, you see. And I remember that coming out. And the first day, I thought, oh, I love that. And I worked, by then, I'd learned now about rudiments. And I worked, that's all rudiments, singles, triplets. There's a flam in this. I mean, now, it's going too fast for you to learn first time. But I put it back, so I said to the Blackjacks about it. And they said, oh, we've already heard it. Yeah, do you want to do it tonight?
Oh, yeah, quite pretty easy for them, especially the bass player.
Yeah, and he said, do you fancy it? I said, yeah. And I said, I didn't need to rehearse much, you know, because not a lot to, it breaks down, you know. You rehearsed it 10 times to get that. We just played it first time, and that was it. Like, that's how we did things in those days. Sometimes they go wrong, we laugh. But what you learn to do, I've got to go saying, I'm the best in the business to do mistakes. I can make them sound good.
That's part of it, isn't it? Definitely.
As I'm driving home, just been sacked.
Any other memories from top 10 before we move on to something else?
I've got loads, Jack. I did loads of recordings out there, right? There's a guy come out there called Peppy Rush. This was not our first trip. I think it was our second trip, 64. And he set up a recording studio there. Top 10's own in-house recording. Okay. And I can remember it plain as can be. And, oh, man, I was playing, I had matchsticks with my eyes open. I used to write a letter a day home to my wife, right? And it was nonsense. She couldn't make head or tail of it. Because I was writing on a Monday, on a Friday, so we'll talk about Monday, perhaps. Because I wasn't going to bed. I was doing the Blackjack thing. And I went to go quiet at the end of the night. It's a recording. Now, the recording could be anybody. So it'd be myself on drums, or Seamus, James Doyle, right? House band drummer, great drummer, left hooker. I learned a lot of him. I had Vic Oakley was our bass player then. What a great bass player, but what a voice to die for. Lovely singer. Don, the guitarist, obviously. And our own vocalist, Linda, would do backing vocals. And there's people coming in who didn't know. I don't know if they're in the Star Club or I remember it was a Scandinavian girl. I don't know whatever happened to her. She had a lovely voice, just banging these tracks out, you know, and with a long lead going into the toilet, and the girls being in the toilet doing the vocal back-ins.
Oh, for all the reverb.
I'd be on the stage on the house kit, or my Ludwig out of the van, down on the floor, 2 drummers playing, right? And we banging these things out and recording. And I remember then Seamus went really ill. He had a dose, right? Ended up in hospital, and we didn't see him for a week or fortnight. So I ended up doing everything, right? Now, I've told people about these things. I haven't said much to anybody in the past. I stopped saying it because some of the stories are a little bit unbelievable, you know. So I said, one guy who came in and he played bassless is a massive multi-millionaire guy with a band now. And you wouldn't think of it, was James Last. And he wasn't anybody then. I think he was like a student bass player, but they were all sucking up this Brits in Germany sort of scene. Bert Comfort, he came in there. And we were playing with these guys, but we didn't know who they were or who they were going to be then. It's like me talking to you here now, right? And then past this time next year, you 2 guys are massively famous for some reason. And I'm going to interview you.
Yeah, there's no way.
You're going to say, no, I don't know him. You see what I'm saying, didn't you?
Yeah,
At the time, you're in it, but you don't know what is to be in the future. And I said, come back, and I'd stupidly say something like, say, my son now is a big James Last fan. And he doesn't know this, see? I said, James Last, yeah. German guy, yeah. So I looked him up, and I thought, that's the guy I said that we did in Polydor Records. I said, in Hamburg. No, it's not. He's famous. Stop talking. And that was it. You couldn't. It's like saying you're in the studio with what's in the Beatles are there that day. right?
Well, that's you've segued beautifully there, Pete. It's like we wrote it. So let's talk about that day in Abbey Road. So you who got you the contract to record at Abbey Road?
I don't know who the contract was from directly, but I know we did Hippie Shake on Pi Records. Agent and what behind it, I don't know to this day.
Right.
I just don't know. I have one regret, actually. Biggest regret in the whole of my life is not going. When Don passed away, he was a bit of he'd gone. What's that?
I've got your record here. For anyone watching on YouTube, this was that's that one that you recorded in for Pi in Abbey Road that day.
Is that as foreign, is it?
It was the Italian pressing, yes.
All right.
But it's an original one, yeah.
Well, we did massive it on the continent, you see, because how stupidly it was. 62 we done it, 63 it came out, and then when it came out, we were in the top 10 club.
Right.
And we were we got on the only equivalent to motorway cafes. I can remember going, stopping at one, and we were shattered, going in to get some coffee, some food, anything, until something like 8 o'clock at night. In France, we were, and on the way to Germany, cutting through France, and the big game end was his football game, you know, that thing. All the kids playing with the ball stuck in the middle, you know that?
Yeah.
On each side.
Like table football.
Yeah, it was big then, like with these kids, like. And the jukebox, what was on the jukebox? It was us.
Amazing.
Ooh, ooh, ooh,
like a film. It's like a film.
I walked the door, and I was going to you know, like a ding, ding, ding. And I was thinking, if you tell them who we are now, would they believe it? And we're in amongst them, like. That wouldn't happen today.
No.
That wouldn't happen today.
And I advise listeners to go and check it out, the Woohoo from the Blackjacks. You've got a great drum solo on that, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just ad lib thing.
It's
just
great.
a copy. The song Woohoo, see, it's not our song. It's a copy. It's American.
Yeah, I know, but your version is better if you ask me, and the drum solo is certainly better. And I love the the Red Dragon, Thraig Koch on the other side with it's a great version of Sospan Vach. I want to do a version of that one day. I'll do it because it's a great version of that Welsh tune, but also just very of the time with the oi's in it and from the swung to straight, So.
But you know what? It's funny enough, right? It wasn't our thing to do that. It was the brains bit. It was the guy at got the contract. He loved that. He's watching the reaction of the people at the site. He's watching, and it wasn't Wales. We were in England, and they all knew it was coming.
They didn't know it anyway.
Well, can you imagine 2,000 people in the room, and they don't, oi, they're waiting for it, like they're jumping in before you, like.
They don't know it's Sospan Vach, yeah.
Yeah, they know what it is, no. And it's just the thing of it, like. And what's about that day though is very important, because when we arrived at Abbey Road, that was a bit of a struggle to get there. We came up by train from Minehead. Now, I don't know what day it was, but it's got to be something like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So the Beatles thing will have it all in there, because that's the only day we would have off on the site, you see? Unless it was changed especially for it. I don't know. But we had to get our gear from Minehead to, where is it, Taunton? That was in the van, and then we emptied it onto the train into like a cattle truck. Seriously.
Why didn't you just drive?
Sorry?
Why didn't you just
couldn't. Oh, what, 6 hours to get there, perhaps, or more a day?
I see.
Oh, no, it's not like today. The roads were horse and cart days almost. And we got up to London, got all the stuff off. That's my drums as well. And I just had my Blue Spark Ludwig. So it's in cases. And the AC30 amp, Vox AC30 amp, fell out of the taxi, bounced on the road, boom, boom, boom. Picked it up, put it back in. Don was crying all the way to the studio, got it in, plugged it in, it worked. It was a horrendous day. I remember getting there. But we didn't know what was going on around us. And the guy opened the door for us. I remember he stopped at the door. He said, listen, guys, when you go in, he said, please don't wander around and touch anything. I always remember that. And then when you opened the door, it made sense. We were in, it had Studio 1, it's the big studio. Because the Beatles were in the smaller studio, right? But we were in this big studio and just all racked out for a film score. Wow. Full orchestra, the violins, the brass section, the timpani and all that. And it's a screen. there was no instruments except the tapes and stuff like that, see? And he said, so you guys set your amps up down here, but please don't wander up there. That's all, he said. And who's the drummer? I said, yeah, Pete, you come here then. And I was in like a drum booth and like in the corner with a window, I could see them, and that was in headphones.
Oh, they were using they were using a booth now in the early 60s then? Was this early 60s or mid?
In that studio they were, yeah.
Interesting.
Was it 62 that you went in there?
1962, yeah.
Early 60s.
Yeah.
It's September 62.
September
I remember September because it was, we should have finished in May, June, July, August. End of August, our contract was finished in Minehead, right? But it's going so well that they extended us by 6 weeks. They wanted 2 months, but we couldn't. We had to get back because we were going to Hamburg. So we did September, and that's when we ended up to London to do this. And what I remember today was, I think we were upstairs in like a cafe or something. We wandered off somewhere to get some food in a break, and the door opened, and the Beatles boys came out, right?
But they weren't famous yet now, were they? They hadn't broken yet.
No.
Had you heard of them? Because they were quite big on the scene generally. No,
never heard of them. Never heard of them. And we did a lot of Liverpool ourselves, North Wales. I'd heard of loads of Liverpool bands, except the Beatles, believe it or not. But I think it's because they were in Hamburg, coming back. I don't think they were like us, organised, earning good money. It's the same saying. It's a strange thing about my start with that band was luck in a way that they were like they were, but unlucky. I'd rather been in a different type of band, more like the Beatles type band, winging it a bit and then either going to make it or get a day job. And they were on the verge of that. You know what I mean? I was never on the verge of that. You see, that's the difference. But at that studio that day, they came out, started, lads of band, talking, yeah. And Hamburg was mentioned because we just signed for Hamburg. And they said, you can have a great time, I give my regards to this guy, and there's a guy called Wolfgang so-and-so, get to know him, he's a waiter, he'll look after you, he loves the English bands, and they tell us different things. I don't remember Ringo Starr being there. The drummer that I saw was the Scottish drummer, because he came down to play my drums. He came out and he stood there, and I tell you what, it's never, ever been in the history books, ever connected to the Beatles. On that day, there was Big Jim Sullivan. That's never been said.
You've mentioned that before when we've been at your house. So you saw Big Jim Sullivan come out of Studio 2 when the Beatles were recording their first album.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Oh, single.
The first single.
First single, right.
Yeah. And I tell you why we remember that in particular. That is why because of Big Jim Sullivan, is why we stopped to talk to the guys. He was the only guy we recognised in amongst all of them. Not because he's Big Jim Sullivan, it's because he was with Don Callard in a shop called Ivor Morant's in London when Don was going to buy a Fender guitar. And then Don was trying it out, and Big Jim walked in. I'll never forget him because he had a cloak, deerstalker hat, Sherlock Holmes character looking, and he was tall.
Massive guy.
And he played really intelligent guitar, And he was a session player anyway, but he spotted Don's talent, obviously, because he took a guitar off the wall, and then they were jamming. And Linda, said, we go in. We lost him for the day. So she went then with the girl singer. I stayed in the shop, and the two of the boys went, and they were going shopping because we were buying new suits and clothes. And Big Jim and them were jamming, taking in turns in the shop there. And they made friends like that. And that was it. We thought we'd never see him again. And in Small World, who did we bump into in the studio? Oh, hiya, he's Don and talking like that, He said, what are you doing here? He said, we're recording. They were down, great, And these boys come out like, lad, Liverpool, And then they talked about Hamburg, and that was it. But the only guy I actually remember visually seeing was John Lennon and George Harrison. That's the two I remember particularly. That's all. And this guy, Scottish guy, come bursting through then, and he stood to watch the conversation as well, because he didn't know what was going on talking. And he twigged in band. He said, "Oh, who's the drummer?" And I said, "I am." He said, "What drums you got? What do you play?" I said, "I got a Ludwig." "A Ludwig? Yeah. What do you got?" I said, "Blue Sparkle Ludwig." "Oh, show me." I went down, and he sat on it, and oh my God, he was blown away with the drum kit.
That blue Ludwig drum kit, you told us a story once many years ago.
We're going to do that next episode, Martin. I've already got that listed. We're going to go all into Pete's.
We're not going to talk about the blue Ludwig's drum kit now. We're talking about it later.
Next episode, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, everybody.
It's fine. So just to finish up this episode now, Pete. So what happened to the end of the Blackjacks? When did you finish, and what happened there?
66, we went back to work for Butlins at the opening of Barry Island. And by then, I had my second boy, and I was not happy with the band. I almost tried to stay home, get a day job. I was thinking of it. Of all I'd done, I thought, I don't want to go anywhere, not with this band anyway.
You're still not old now, though, are you? What, are you 20 or something like that, are you?
Yeah. That's a lot. I've done a lot young, you see.
Yeah.
That's why some of my stories, when I talk to people, they look at me, they don't believe what I'm saying, because they've come along from 1963 on. You've missed a lot. There's a big difference in those 5 years. But I wasn't happy with the band in 65, you see. 66, I thought, right, I'm going to do this season because it's very good money. It's 16 weeks, very, very good money. And I can save money to get me through the winter, to find myself to do something, but I'm leaving. And fair play to my wife, she said, "It's up to you. Look, if you're not happy, you don't want to go on the road, do you?" I said, "No." I look at my kids thinking, "Nah, what am I going to go on the road for, you know?" And there's nothing for me around here, nothing to say to stay professional, like, you know. But I was wrong. I was very wrong. Things came round. But I rehearsed him with a band at Butlins Barry Island. We had photos taken, very professional. Head of the time. Do you know, like the photo shots you see of Queen down, all that? I could show you my photos. And mine in 1966, and when is Queen's 80s? 70s, 80s, like that. But all my photos are like that. And I'm thinking, they've seen us, they've copied us. But there was another band playing in the pub part of the camp. We were playing in the main ballroom, and they were in the pub. And they're from your neck of the woods, up Leeds area. And a couple of good lads in there. Keyboard player. Oh, I loved him. Exceptionally good player. So they were disenchanted with a drummer, because he was a great lad. I got on great with him. We got like a house on fire. But he wasn't a very, very good drummer. He knew it. The band knew it, but he had no interest. He was a great laugh. I think he was there for the money and the beer and the girls. And I used to sit in with their band, you see, and they said, "Do you fancy joining our band?"
That's not, when was that photo from that I'm showing for the people looking?
Who's on bass? That's got to be 63 back.
Oh, that's an earlier one. I didn't know if that was one of your professional photos. You got some very shiny suits there, though.
Shiny suits, a red Stratocaster with a rosewood fretboard.
But anyway, I rehearsed this band at the camp, and then the bass player said that he was thinking of leaving. So the bass player we had in the Blackjacks at the time, he fancied coming in the band. So we had photo sessions, and I tell you what, the band was a different direction, you know. We dropped out of the shadow. The only difference in this band now was, whereas the Blackjacks, you could call upon them, say, to back you now, come along, and they do something, you overpower you, they'd be sympathetic, they'd be in the background, they would enhance you because they're there for you. You all don't always have that. Somebody singing out the front, it's for them. No messing about on here. But this other band I joined now was a better type of band in a different sort of way, and I could take them to Hamburg. I had a contract for Hamburg coming up, see? And I had a contract for the Butlins camps to keep going as well. So I rehearsed to them, and it fell flat because the Blackjacks, it was a bit sour, threatened me with musicians union on that. You can't leave because you're a part of the brand and all this nonsense. And so the only way I could leave was disband it, like, you know. I'm packing in. So I didn't go with the band. I let the boys go back. They went back up to your way from Leeds that way. And I came home. And luckily for me then, I didn't do much up until Christmas. I did a couple of gigs only with some boys, guesting with different bands. Not much money, but I had enough money to cover me over until next summer. And I re-signed a contract for Butlins, 1967, in Minehead. And I found a band in Swansea whose drummer had just emigrated to Swansea, a complete band looking for a drummer. So wow. They became my band. But oh my God, the bass player, I played him just before lockdown. I just played him. I haven't seen him since 67. He walked in. I didn't know him. He knew who I was. He said, Peter James, good God, he said, I've seen you since 1967. I looked at him and said, who the hell are you? He looked like an old man.
Well, that's bass players for you. It's a hard life.
Well, but tell you what.
Not being respected.
He was the one now, instigator in the band. They had the sack. We had the sack. Blackjacks. We went down in the name of the Blackjacks. And the guy who runs the camp was the one who told me about status quo. He called me in the office after the first night. He's like his back in a seat. And he went, Peter. This is not the Blackjacks. This is not. And he got up and he's walking around. Oh, I thought, oh, I'm finished. Look, I tell you what I'm going to do with you, he said. Cards on the table. I've had a word with so-and-so, with one of the managers, managers walking the camp. And he saw you trying to knock his boys into shape all day. You spent all day on it, didn't you? I said, well, I spent all week before coming down here as well. I said, I didn't sleep. I didn't. I said, because all these boys wanted to do was knock on wood, right? Nothing like it. 10 times the volume of it. Yeah. So I showed them our list of what we do. It was pages and pages and pages of sound. Thousands of tunes. He said, what? You band did that. We'll do anything you want for that. How do you know all that? Because if you're a musician and you learn something, somebody else comes along with something new, you look at it, we just play it. I was talking in a foreign language to him. He didn't have a clue. You only knew this stuff. Now, I went back to him and said, look, guys, this is it. A week to shape up or we're out. Because I knew they wanted to go to Hamburg, see? Now, they get away with that sort of playing in Hamburg, a bit raunchy and loud and a bit thing, but not on Butlins.
Yeah.
You've got to be versatile. You've got to be versatile. Somebody comes out to your audience and say, oh, I lost my husband, so, you go take it, like what I mean? And said he was a big Jim Reeves fan. Do you play anything with Jim Reeves? Yeah, you pick it. We play it. And we always played it. Next bit, well, do you know Tina Turner's latest one? Yeah, we do that, yeah. You know, Cliff Richard's going to sing, so yeah, we do that. Or go some Motown. Yeah, we do all Motown, do a Motown set, like. We're versatile.
Yeah.
And that's what it was built on. You know what I mean?
High-end, like, pop band, yeah, doing all the...
You had to do it. That is why we were always working. Now, we were the band's band, and by all means, you know, they didn't like that sort of thing. But I didn't know what is in some musicians' minds sometimes. They don't realise what did they hear when they were kids? You know, what did they brought up on? What do they want to aspire to? I don't know. Unless you're totally original and unique, well, I can understand that, because I'm not. I'm a copyist. I just copied what I heard, and I made a living out of it. Yeah. I'm saying, but if you're unique, and there are people, you know, well, you know, you got to respect that. That's them. You don't ask them to do something else then. You know what I mean? Because the whole world will be copying them in the end. Like, you know what I mean? Exactly. And of course, this band in Minehead, they let me down bad. They could not. The keyboard player tried his best. I said, you know, you got 1 to 10, yeah? You're on 10. Try 5. We go down to 5. They're like this, they're bored. Turn around, one's on 10, they're all on 10. And they're not doing each other, you know? So they had the sack.
So there we go. That brings us to the end of part 1. It was very nice to hear about his life there in the Blackjacks and all that. Now, next up in part 2, we're going to hear about his life backing a lot of Britain's foremost entertainers. And we're also going to hear about how he became one of the world's most prominent collectors of vintage Ludwig drums.
Thanks for listening to the Washboard Resonators present.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate and leave a comment.
And to support our band, please sign up to the mailing list. You'll find the link in the show notes and on the website.